The Secret Seven by Enid Blyton. The Secret Seven Society was one that Peter and Janet had invented. They thought it was great fun to have a little band of boys and girls who knew the password and who wore the badge, a button with SS on it. One cold morning during the Christmas holidays, they were sitting indoors with their golden spaniel Scamper when Peter suddenly had an idea.
We'd better have a meeting of the Secret Seven. We haven't had one for ages.
Oh, yes, let's. We've had such exciting things to do at Christmas. There hasn't been time to call a meeting.
But we must. It's no good having a secret society unless we use it. We'd better send messages to the others.
5 notes to write.
What shall we say?
Well, we'd better tell them to come here. We could use the old shed in the bottom of the garden. It's next to the boiler that heats the greenhouse, and it's quite warm.
Right. I'll do the message first, and you can copy it. Let's see. There's Pam, Colin, Jack, Barbara, and
George, of course.
Oh, yes. Now, this is what I've written. Important. A meeting of the Secret Seven will be held tomorrow in the shed at the bottom of our garden at 10 o'clock. Please give password.
What was the last password we had?
Wenceslas, because we wanted a Christmassy one. Fancy forgetting that.
Oh, yes, of course. There, I finished. Now shall we go out and deliver the secret messages?
Yes, let's. Scamper will enjoy that.
That afternoon, the 2 children and Scamper went down to the old shed. It was warm and cosy. Using sacks on the floor for a carpet, 5 boxes and 2 enormous flower pots for seats, they soon had a fine meeting room. Peter set about making 2 big letter S's out of cardboard, which he coloured green and stuck on the door of the shed. The next morning, the 5 children made their way to Old Mill House, where Peter and Janet lived. George came first and knocked on the door. There was silence. He knocked again, impatiently.
Give the password, silly!
Oh, I forgot. Wenceslas.
This is very cosy. Where's your SS badge?
Bother, I forgot it.
Wenceslas!
Hello, Barbara. Hello, Pam. Good. You're both wearing your badges. Now, where are Colin and Jack?
Wenceslas!
Whatever are you shouting for, Colin? Do you want everyone in the village to know our password?
Sorry. Anyway, there's only us here. Wenceslas!
That's better, Jack. Come in.
This is a great meeting place.
Yes, you and Jen have made it very comfortable.
Right, let's have our meeting. First of all, we must arrange a new password. Wenceslas doesn't seem right for after Christmas. Any ideas?
Hey diddle diddle.
Be sensible, Pam. This is a serious society.
Would weekdays do?
What's the sense of that?
Well, there are 7 days in the week, and we're the Seven Society.
Oh, I see. Yes, it is rather good. Those in favour call aye.
Aye.
Now, we have a little more business to discuss. As a society, we must have some plan to follow, something to do.
Can't we solve a mystery or something like that?
What kind of mystery do you mean?
I don't really know. We'd have to look out for something strange or peculiar and solve it. It sounds exciting, but I don't believe we'd find anything like that.
Oh well, we'll just have to keep our eyes and ears open and wait and see. If anyone hears of any mystery that wants solving, they must call a meeting of the society.
If we have anything to report, can we leave a note in the Secret Seven shed?
Good idea. Janet and I will be here each morning and see if any of you have left a note. I hope someone does.
So do I. It's not much fun having a society that doesn't do anything.
Let's go and build some snowmen in the field, opposite that old house down by the stream. We could build quite an army. They'd look quite funny standing in the field by themselves.
Oh, yes, let's do that. I'll take this old cap to put on one of them.
And I'll take this old coat. Come on!
They didn't build an army, of course. They only had time to build 4 snowmen, and Scamper had a lovely time helping them all. Janet put the cap on one snowman, and Peter put the old coat round his snowy shoulders. He looked the best of the lot. It was Colin who suddenly realised it was time for lunch. They left the snowman in the field and went out of the gate. Opposite was a big old house, empty except for one room at the bottom where dirty curtains hung across the window.
Who lives there? Only a caretaker. He's very old and deaf and awfully bad-tempered.
I wonder who it belongs to.
Isn't the path up to the house lovely and smooth with snow? Oh, Scamper, you naughty dog, come back!
You get out of there! Take your dog away, you pest environment!
Look out! The old man's coming out with a stick!
I'll whack your dog till he's black and blue!
Scamper, come here. I'll take him.
What's that you say?
I'll take him.
All right, don't shout! Don't you come here again or I'll send the police after you!
Very well, we're going. Come on, Scamper.
Goodness, 1:45. We'll have to hurry.
Cheerio, you lot.
Bye.
When Jack got home, he was going to put his badge away, but couldn't find it. He realised he must have dropped it in the field when they were making the snowmen. His mother was away, so he couldn't ask her to make him another. He did think of asking Miss Ely, who looked after his young sister, Susie, but unfortunately things went badly wrong at lunchtime.
I know where you've been this morning. You've been to your silly secret society.
Shut up! You just hold that horrid tongue of yours. Don't talk like that, Jack.
What's the password? I know what the last one was. You wrote it in your notebook and I saw it. It was...
Oh, my ankle! How dare you, Jack? Leave the table at once.
I'm awfully sorry, Miss Ely. I didn't mean to kick you.
It doesn't make it any better knowing that you meant to kick Susie, not me. Leave the room.
Very well. I'll go out. I want to look for something I've lost.
No, Jack. You will not go out any more today.
Jack groaned to himself. Very well, he would go out that night and look with his torch. Jack went up to bed at his usual time, but he didn't get undressed. He put on his coat and cap instead and settled down to wait until Miss Ely went to bed. At last he heard her lock up the house, come upstairs and shut the door of her room. Good. He slipped his torch into his pocket, crept quietly downstairs and stepped into the garden. Jack made his way down the lane to the field where they had built the snowmen. The snowmen stood silently in a group. He switched on his torch and shined it on the snow at their feet. Then he gave an exclamation. He had found his badge. Suddenly, he heard a noise down the lane and saw the headlights of a car. The car came slowly by, and then Jack saw it was towing something rather big. Not big enough for a removal van. It wasn't a caravan either. Well, whatever was this curious van, and where was it going? The lane led nowhere. The driver must have made a mistake. The boy began to climb over the gate. Then he suddenly sat still.
Nobody about, is there? Only that deaf old caretaker. Have a look, will you, just in case. There's a gang of snowmen over there. They won't give us much trouble. Kids' work, I suppose. Come on, let's get down to business.
Jack couldn't think for the life of him what the noise was, and he didn't care either. All he wanted to do was to get home. He came to his house, panting painfully, and went upstairs. His first thought was that he must tell the others. Quickly, he scribbled a note, slipped downstairs again, and rushed to the shed at the bottom of Peter's garden, and slid his note under the door. Then home he went again to bed, but not to sleep. That noise, that strange high van. Who were the men? It really was enough to keep anybody awake for hours. Next morning, Janet went down to the shed by herself. The shed smelt rather stuffy, so she opened the window. When she turned round, she saw Jack's note on the floor. On the outside she read, "Urgent, very important indeed." She raced back to the house, yelling for Peter.
Peter, where are you? Something's happened, quick!
What is it?
Look, I found this paper in the shed. It's marked urgent. Here, what's it say?
Peter, call a meeting of the Secret Seven at once. Very important mystery to solve. It happened to me last night about 9:30. Get the others together at 10 if you can. I'll be there. It's signed Jack. What on earth does he mean?
Shall we go and tell the others to come at 10?
Yes, at once.
Weekdays!
Hello, Colin. That's everyone here now, except Jack.
Weekdays!
Jack, we got your note. What's up? Is it really important?
Well, you listen and see. Last night, I realised I'd lost my badge. I guessed I dropped it when we were building the snowman. Anyway, I took my torch and went back to the field, and sure enough I found it.
Good thing, too.
Yes, well, I was just about to go home again when a car turned up, towing a strange sort of van thing. There were two men. They opened up the van, and there was the most frightful noise, snorting and a horrid squeal. It nearly made my hair stand on end. Why did those men come down that lane late at night? And what could that thing be that they were towing?
Was it a cage or something?
Not as far as I could see. More like a small removal van. But whatever was inside wasn't furniture. I tell you, it snorted, squealed and struggled.
Was it a man, do you think?
It might have been, of course. But a man doesn't snort like that. Unless he had a gag over his mouth, perhaps. Well, it's something mysterious for the Secret Seven to look into.
How are we going to tackle it? We had better find out if we can tell anything by the tracks in the snow.
Yes, and we could ask the caretaker if he heard anything.
We might try and find who owns the old empty house. Well, let's split up the inquiries. Pan, you go with George and see if you can find out who owns the house. Janet, you and Barbara can go down to the lane and examine the car tracks.
Right.
Colin, Jack and I will go and see if we can get the caretaker to tell us anything.
What's Scamper to do?
He's going to come with us, in case the caretaker turns nasty.
Good idea. Well, shall we set off?
Yes. Report here this afternoon. You've discovered the most exciting mystery, Jack, and it's up to the Secret Seven to solve it.
They set off at once, feeling extremely important. Scamper went too, his tail well up. He was mixed up in a mystery with the society. Pam and George were wondering how they were going to find out who owned the house. George thought they should try the post office, so off they went. A postman was emptying the letterbox outside, and they asked him. He had no idea, but did suggest that they try the estate agent across the road. Here they had much more luck, and soon discovered that the house was owned by a Mr. J. Hollycoff of 64 Haycombe Street, Covilty. Meanwhile, Janet and Barbara were busy examining the tracks in the lane.
See, the car with the van behind turned into the lane from the direction of Templeton. It didn't come from our village.
Yes, the tracks of the van wheels are narrower than the wheels of the car. Look, you can see exactly what the pattern was on the wheels of the van.
I'm going to try and copy the pattern in my notebook. It just might come in useful. There. That's the best I can do. Now, let's follow the tracks down the lane.
All right.
Gosh, look at all these marks by the house. Footprints, tyre marks, and the snow all scuffed up. This must be where the struggle was that Jack told us about. And look, the tyre marks leave all this mess and go on down the lane.
Oh, yes. Well, let's go and see if we can find the boys.
No, we ought to follow the tracks as far as they go. There, see? They go into that field, turn in a big circle, and out again. Must have gone up the lane and disappeared into the night.
Funny thing to do at that time of night.
Yes, very odd. Now let's go back to the house and wait for the boys.
They hung over the gate, but to their horror, the old caretaker came rushing out as soon as he saw them, his big stick in his hand. He yelled at them, and they fled up the lane as fast as they could go. The three boys and Scamper had had an exciting time. They had gone down the lane to the old house and leaned over the gate. They saw tracks going up the drive.
There's my footprints that I made yesterday morning, and Scamper's paw marks. But our tracks are overlaid with bigger footmarks, and other marks too.
A bit like prints that would be made by someone wearing great flat, roundish slippers. Whoever wore them was prancing about a bit, probably being dragged in.
Let's go up the drive. We've got to interview the caretaker and find out if he heard anything last night.
What shall we say if he asks us why we want to know? If he's in this mystery, he may be very angry.
Yes, he might. I can't think of anything except to ask him if he isn't afraid of burglars and things like that.
All right, a bit feeble, but let's go in. The tracks go round the side of the house. Look, past the side door and round to the kitchen door.
How strange. Why go round to the kitchen door when there's a front door and a side door? Yes, see? 2 sets of shoe prints and those funny round slipper prints too.
Let's have a peek through the kitchen window.
Look out! The caretaker's coming into the kitchen!
You clear out! I won't have kids round here!
Aren't you afraid of burglars?
No, I've got my stick!
Someone's been round to the back door. Look at all the footprints.
They're no more than the tracks you've made!
They're not. I bet it was burglars or something last night.
Pah! Trying to frighten me, are you?
No, I'm not. Didn't you hear anything at all last night?
I'm deaf! But wait now, yes, I did think I heard something last night.
What did you hear?
Seems like I heard some squealing or some such noise.
Was the squealing in the house?
Well, I wouldn't hear any squealing outside.
Can we come in and look round?
What are you thinking of, asking to come in? You clear out and don't come round here again.
Look out! He's coming out of the side door. Let's go!
The meeting that afternoon was very interesting and full of excitement. Everyone had something to report. Pam and George reported first, telling how they had found out the name and address of the owner of the old house. Then the 2 girls reported on their investigation of the car tracks, and Janet shyly produced her sketch of the pattern of the van tyres. Finally, Peter reported on the visit to the caretaker at the old house. Everyone listened in silence.
So you see, somebody went to the old house last night, and I think they left a prisoner behind.
A prisoner? What do you mean?
Well, isn't it clear that there was a prisoner in that van? Someone who was forced inside and hidden in the house.
I don't like it. What about his food?
Yes, And water to drink. And why is he locked up there?
Kidnapped, perhaps. This is really very serious.
Ought we to tell our parents?
Or the police?
Well, not till we know a bit more. There might be some simple explanation.
We better not tell anyone till we've proved there's something odd going on.
Right, but we've got to do something about it ourselves.
But what? I've thought of something. If there is a prisoner locked up in the old house, he will have to be fed and given water. Whoever does that will have to visit him at night. What about us taking it in turn at night to go and watch outside the house to see who goes in?
I think that probably someone will be along tonight. Let's all four of us boys hide and wait.
It would be difficult for four of us to hide and not be seen.
Well, let's drape ourselves in white sheets and join the snowmen in the field.
Oh, yes, Peter. Brilliant idea.
2 could follow anyone into the house and 2 remain on guard outside. What about Scamper? Shall we take him?
We'd better.
I'll make him a little white coat.
What time shall we go?
Well, it was about 9:30 when they arrived last night. We'll make it the same time then. Meet here at about 9 tonight.
Janet spent the whole of the afternoon making Scamper a white coat. Peter borrowed a ragged old sheet and found an old white mackintosh. He thought he could cut up the sheet and make it do for the other 3. It was so big. 5 of the Secret 7 met in the shed at 9 o'clock. The boys put on their white things, then, with gurgles of laughter, they painted their faces white. Poor Scamper felt ridiculous in his little white coat. As soon as they were ready, the 4 boys, plus Dog, made their way to the field and stood with the snowmen. They waited and waited. Nobody came.
I'm freezing. How much longer will we wait?
Can't we walk around just to get warm?
Shh! Listen! It's that squealing noise. I know it is. Coming from the old house.
I'm going to investigate. Come on, Jack.
Leaving Colin and George on guard, Peter and Jack crept up to the front door of the old house. It was fastened, of course. The side door and the back door were locked too. Then they heard a queer, thudding, thundering noise from somewhere in the house. What was going on? Jack noticed that the kitchen window was slightly open, and the 2 boys climbed through to see if they could find the prisoner. They tiptoed into the scullery and then the hall. They looked into all the rooms, but each one was silent and empty. Then they came to a shut door. Sounds came from behind it. Somebody was in there. Peter expected the door would be locked, but if it wasn't, he warned Jack to be ready to run. The door wasn't locked. It opened quietly. The sounds became loud at once. Somebody was in there snoring.
Shh! It's the old caretaker! Shut the door quietly, Jack.
Thank goodness he didn't hear us.
Let's have a search upstairs. Nothing in this room. Nor this one. How about yours, Jack?
Nothing. All empty.
Let's try the top floor.
We'll have to be careful now. These are the only rooms we haven't been into.
But Jack, look! None of the doors are properly shut. He's not up here.
It's strange, isn't it? Surely those noises did come from the house somewhere.
There is a prisoner here somewhere, and he's knocking for help, and squealing too. Somewhere downstairs, but we've looked everywhere.
Come on, we must have missed the cupboard or something. I know where it's coming from. Under our feet. There must be a cellar.
Let's look for the cellar door then.
Peter, here, I found it. It's not locked. Why doesn't the prisoner escape then?
Hey, down there, who's there?
We can hear you breathing. Do tell us who you are. We've come to rescue you. Peter, it's those men I heard last night. Quick, we must hide before they find us here.
Let's take our sheets and white caps off, quickly. We shan't be so easily seen in our dark overcoats. Come here, into the shadows.
Better see if that old caretaker's asleep. What the devil? Look here, in that corner. Whatever is it, Mac?
Faces. White faces. I don't like it. Switch on your torch. Now then, what's the meaning of this hiding here with your faces all painted up like that? What are you kids doing?
Let go my arm! You're hurting! The thing is, what are you up to?
What do you mean?
That's what I mean. Who's down there? Who are you keeping prisoner? Ouch!
Come on, Mac. Bring that one. Stick him in this cupboard. That's right. Lock it up.
What are we going to do now? If those kids get anyone here, we're done.
Right. Keep the kids here too, then. Put them down with Carey Blue. We'll fetch them tomorrow night and clear off. Then nobody will know anything.
But what about the kids?
We'll leave them locked up here. Send a card to the caretaker and tell him to look down in his cellar the day after tomorrow. He'll get a shock when he finds the kids prisoners here. Serves him right, little pests.
Now listen, you kids. You can stay there for a while till we're finished.
Listen, Jack. Sounds as if they're boiling something. What a horrible smell.
Right, you two. Out of there.
You let us go.
No tick from you. Now then, down in the cellar with you. You're gonna stay there.
We're locked in. Peter, switch on your torch. For goodness sake, let's have a look at the prisoner and see what he's like.
Just a sec. There. Good gracious. It's a horse. Oh, Jack, the poor thing. How wicked to keep a horse down here like this. Why do they do it?
It's such a beauty. Looks like a racehorse. Do you suppose they've stolen it, hiding it here till they can change it to another colour or something, then sell it under a different name?
I don't know. I'm going down to him.
Aren't you afraid?
No, I've been brought up with horses on the farm. Poor thing, it wants calming. There, good boy. So you're Carey Blue. Don't be frightened, I'm your friend. Come on, boy, let me stroke your nose. There, that's better. Jack, come on, he's friendly now. That's right, you stroke his back.
Ugh! He feels sticky and wet.
Let me see. Jack, you were right. Those men have been dyeing him.
That was the horrid smell. The dye being boiled up.
Well, if we want a bed, we'll have to use straw.
We shan't need to. I bet old Colin and George will come and look for us soon.
Up in the field, Colin and George had been waiting impatiently when Scamper began to growl. He had heard a car coming down the lane. Colin quietened Scamper, and the boys watched as two men got out of the car and went into the house. What was happening? At last, the two men appeared again, got into the car, and drove off.
They're gone. Come on, let's see if we can find Peter and Jack. Hey, look, the kitchen window's open. I'll get in. Right, lift Scamper up. Okay, I've got him. Come on, now you. Jack, Peter, are you there? What is it, Scamper?
Colin, George, is that you? Say the password.
Weekdays, where are you?
Down here in the cellar. We'll come up. Can you unlock the door, or has the key been taken?
No, it's here. A horse! What on earth?
Have the men gone?
Yes, Away in their car.
Good. Let's get out of here. Come on, Carrie.
Look! What's he got on his feet?
Felt slippers, made to fit his great hooves. That explains the curious prints we saw in the snow. I guess he had those on so that he wouldn't make too much noise in the cellar. Come on, I'm going home.
Peter talked hard as they went. He told the others he would put Kerry Blue in one of the stables at his farmhouse for the night, and then in the morning they would have a meeting of the Secret Seven and tell the police everything. In the morning, what an excitement! Peter told his parents what had happened, and his father, in amazement, went to examine Kerry Blue. He could see at once what a very fine racehorse he was, and immediately telephoned the police. At 9:30, 2 policemen arrived at Old Mill House and were shown into the study where Peter's parents and the Secret Seven were waiting.
Good morning. Then what's all this about? You didn't say much on the phone.
No, Inspector, I wanted you to hear the story from the children. I expect you saw these headlines in the paper this morning. Kerry Blue stolen, famous racehorse disappears. Peter, tell the Inspector where Kerry Blue is.
In our stables.
This is very important, sir. Can you vouch for the fact that you have got the horse?
Oh, yes, there's no doubt about it. Peter, tell your story.
The children took it in turns to relate their own part in the adventure, and when they had all finished, the inspector spoke to Peter's parents with a twinkle in his eye.
Oh, adventurous kids, aren't they? Mind you, they should have told the police and left them to solve the mystery. Wandering about at night dressed up as snowmen, I've never heard anything like it. Well, now, I'll have to find out the name of the owner of the house and see if he knows anything about these goings-on.
It's a Mr. Hollycoff, 64 Hakem Street, Covelty. Pam and I found that out.
Good work. I suppose you don't know the number of the car?
Afraid not. But these girls here know something about the horse box. They took measurements of the tyres and drew a copy of the pattern on them.
Janet did that.
Splendid. Couldn't be better. A very valuable bit of evidence. Oh, these children have done most of our work for us. We'll just have to look at the horse, and then we'll be off.
The children could hardly wait to hear the end of the adventure. They heard about it at the very next meeting, which was called not by the members themselves, but by Peter's parents in the shed.
Well, Mr. Hollycoff is the owner of the horse box. The police waited in the old house last night for the 2 men, and they came. They are now safely under lock and key.
The papers said Kerry Blue was owned by Colonel James Healy. Is he sending someone to fetch him?
Yes, he's sending a horse box today. And he also sent something for the Secret Seven. Perhaps you'd like to see what's in this envelope, Peter.
Ooh, circus and pantomime tickets. 7 of each.
See what it says on the envelope. For the Secret Seven Society. With my thanks and best wishes, J.H.
How very kind of him. We didn't want any reward at all. The adventure was enough reward. It was brilliant.